it's the image of tractors literally on London streets, with a juxtaposition of vans and vehicles and buses. It's wild.
Ironically, on London streets, the tractors will not be the slowest traffic either. They'll be able to keep up with the prevailing conditions, won't they? But there's a New Holland on the left-hand side, a John Deere on the right. We've seen some fence, some cases, I think possibly even a McCormick, which you don't often see. So I'm having a very lovely day.
That's fantastic.
And there were incredible, awe-inspiring scenes at Westminster today as the farmers' tractor convoy went all around the world. This is the start of a major resistance as the socialist British government goes to war with the people who supply our food. And if you look at some of the images, honestly, it's just brilliant. Watch this.
Well, here I am in Westminster, and the farmers have come out in force. From the whole length of Whitehall, we can see tractor after tractor, bonnet to boot, if that's the way you call it. But I can assure you, the atmosphere is right. It's calm, it's peaceful, and rightfully they're protesting honestly. And I'm here to back them, as is all Fairfield UK supporters.
Some brilliant on-the-ground reporting there from Howard Cox. And honestly, I've been watching the interviews all day. There is so much emotion, so much power behind this. This is something the farmers have thought long and hard about. The BBC, the British Bashing Corporation, didn't even bother to show up. No major coverage at all. And those despicable people at Sly News decided to treat the thing, because remember, they live in this little metropolitan bubble. Farmers are like aliens to them. They just don't understand what this is going to do to farmers. So the whole thing for Kay Burley and her horrible brood of witches was just to laugh.
It really is a serious issue, Kay, that we're about to see being played out on Whitehall.
I'm just looking at some pictures that our producer Sam has just sent in. He's just nipped down to see what he can see, and it's the image of tractors literally on London streets, with a juxtaposition of vans and vehicles and buses. It's wild.
Ironically, on London streets, the tractors will not be the slowest traffic either. They'll be able to keep up with the prevailing conditions, won't they? But there's a New Holland on the left-hand side, a John Deere on the right. We've seen some fence, some cases, I think possibly even a McCormick, which you don't often see. So I'm having a very lovely day.
Fantastic. They're going to close Whitehall. I'm not sure that they've actually done it yet, but they are planning to. How will the Prime Minister get to PMQs?
There's lots of other ways you can get to PMQs. He will not be bothered by that. There's always a little back alley, back channel.
Up through the Treasury, basically, isn't it? Yeah.
So he'll be fine.
Or through the Foreign Office.
Yeah, there's plenty of options for him. They always have plans for this.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Alan Miller, you were there today. What derisory coverage from Sly News. Their biggest concern, how's Starmer going to get to PMQs? And isn't this just a novelty? But you didn't see the British Bashing Corporation there at all, Alan.
I did not see the BBC there at all. And I think the thing is, the point is that so many people, I think this is the same as what's happened to the government. They kind of thought, it's a few people who don't vote for us. It's a few aristos. They thought that everyone in the city would go, we don't like those farmers. They completely have misunderstood the situation. Contemptuous because they promised that they would never do anything like this pre-election. Then after the election, they impose these measures that are so damaging. Then they try and get the Treasury to say 500 farmers will be affected. And we know the number's more like 70 to 75,000. Even DEFRA do not agree with the Treasury. But the serious thing is that the farmers have shown their mettle again. They've shown their grit. They've shown their cool, calm resolve. They're very respectful. Make sure you clean up after ourselves. But at the same time, robust determination that this is not going to end.
For now. But Alan, can I just ask, because I have seen some farmers today now starting to talk about much more serious action. I've seen some of the farmers today talking about the blockading of key routes, the blockading of ports. I mean, genuine lots of civil disobedience. Now, that goes against the approach that Nigel Farage has been advocating for. He doesn't want to go, there he is at the protest, but he doesn't want to go down French-style destruction. Where do you and the Together Declaration stand on that?
I think the thing is that farmers have been very clear. They're saying, listen to us. If you don't, we're going to continue. Now, I think it just to be noted that, you know, we're working with farmers behind the scenes and in front of it. It's also small and medium-sized businesses that are being really damaged and harmed by these new measures, as of course with the NI and care homes, and everyone's being impacted. But what they're saying is they're going to do a number of things. They're not giving all their cards away and they're holding some of it back. But don't expect to see things like Just Stop Oil. Don't expect to see that type of thing. They're not interested in making commuters suffer or things like that. But we do know that food distribution centres are on the radar, right? Yeah. We also know, and it was said today at the speeches, the farmers could shut this country down pronto, very fast. No one could stop them. They don't want to have to do all of this. However, if this government is not going to be big about this and say, look, all right, if we really wanted to genuinely deal with a few people that are using this as a way of a tax avoidance, very wealthy, we've miscalculated this. We can go back to the drawing board. Let's assess it. If you're a real family farm, you've been there for generations, and you're all right, we're going to deal with it. We've listened. That would be the big thing to do. Unfortunately, they may see it as a sign of weakness and that somehow they failed. So they're going to dig their heels in. If they do that, I'm just going to say that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer and Steve Reed, you should listen to the words of the farmers. They are not going to stop. In the same way that the weather does not stop them, these measures and impositions, these are multi-generational families. They're not about to give up their whole way of life. And citizens are not about to let the backbone of our society, of our culture, our food security and our independence just be jettisoned and made extinct. This is really serious. Yes. And this is why we're so involved with it. It's why we've encouraged everyone to do a mass campaign to not just to write to their MPs, but to go and visit them at surgeries and call them. But beyond that, we've got people locally, regionally, nationally campaigning on the street, working with farmers. There's initiatives with counties and others, which we can talk to you more about. Some more people will come and talk to you, Dan. But there's a whole range of things that are in place. And I really think people would be silly if they did not take this very seriously. This is going to continue and the government is not going to win it.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. We saw you there, Alan, speaking to Nigel Farage. He also spoke to GB News today. Watch this. First, though, digestive issues are caused by a potential toxin that's in all of the, quote, healthy foods that scientists have been telling us to eat with a fraudulent food pyramid for the longest time. And this potential toxin causes digestive issues. According to Dr. Gundry, a world-renowned cardiologist, this is affecting millions of people nationwide. Warning signs include weight gain, fatigue, and digestive discomfort, and stiff joints, even skin problems. Well, Dr. Gundry explains these side effects are often mistaken for normal signs of aging because digestive issues develop usually over a matter of years and sometimes even decades. I can assure you that the damage is caused by these health foods and it's far from normal. The good news is you can easily help fix the problem from your own home. It's very simple. You just have to know which foods are actually healthy and which contain this hidden potential toxin. So you can go find this yourself at gutcleanseprotocol.com/outspoken. So that's gutcleanseprotocol.com/outspoken. To make it easier for you, I've put the link in our show notes just below this video on YouTube or if you're watching on Rumble too. Because after years of research, Dr. Gundry has decided to release an informative video to the public, free and uninterrupted, showcasing exactly which foods you need to avoid. Go find that video at gutcleanseprotocol.com/outspoken or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show.
And remember this, Labour have got approximately 100 members of Parliament who are now representing rural or at least semi-rural constituencies. These kind of protests need to be, by the way, peaceful, obviously, but need to be in every market town in England. And we need to get the great British public behind small businesses, behind our farmers. And you know what? Fear of losing the next election. And let's face it, Starmer's not off to a great start, is he really? I mean,
Well, there's the understatement of the year, maybe.
So where do you stand on this one, Father Phil? Do you think the farmers need to take stronger action?
I've been watching this intently. This whole stance of the government, just like the winter fuel allowance, is just morally wrong and bankrupt. I've had so many spats on Twitter with people over this. Those seats are clearly as a concern as Nigel Farage has highlighted. But I was listening to Liz Webster from Save British Farming earlier today, and she was being interviewed by Kay Burley, and she introduced the concept of holding back supplies. And Kay was quite dismissive by saying, well, that's not going to get the public's backing. The reality is, Alan is right. The farmers could actually shut down this nation very, very, very quickly. And again, it's the Labour Liberal elites who are clueless, utterly clueless as to what this is going to cost.
What did you think, Father Phil, of the Kay Burley clip of her sort of cackling and treating the whole thing as if it's just almost like a sideshow?
What utter disrespect, what utter cluelessness, for want of a better word. There is no concept of these people of the impact that this is going to have, not just on people's lives who make very little money in relative terms, and they have assets that are assets to produce food that they're no longer going to maintain. There is just no concept of what this costs people in rural places. And of course, you know, we've just go through the harvest festivals in churches, and in times past, and this is quite significant for me, those altars will have been full. Those chancels will be filled with produce, with fresh produce at the harvest festivals. And of course, since COVID, it's tinned food. And I think that we have moved, people in the cities have moved away from understanding what farmers do. And Kate has just been utterly disrespectful. I mean, the phrase she used there, it's wild. I tell you what's wild, Kay. You are just being disrespectful and clueless, and you are going to bring, with your attitude, this nation to its knees.
Totally.
Shame on you.
Everything that is wrong with the MSM. Very, very good point, Father Phil. Just finally, Alan Miller, what's the next biggie with the farmers? Do you have something planned yet, or is it going to come after Christmas?
So there is something on the 16th at the Palladium, the London Palladium. Andrew Lloyd Webber's handed that over to have some of the organisers from the 19th.
Oh, incredible! What a man! I love that.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's going to bring together farmers and small and medium-sized businesses. So that's it. And then in the new year, there's some more stuff. Watch togetherdeclaration.org. We're working with a lot of farmers. We're encouraging everyone to come out, and behind the scenes, we're all working on things. And I just think that the more that the farmers can hear that all your viewers and everyone's behind them, and we're all standing together, the better. And let our MPs know. And let our MPs know and keep that going, because our food security and our way of life and the backbone of Britain and our culture needs to be upheld and defended.
Indeed, and this is why the Together Declaration is so important. I absolutely back everything you're doing, Alan. Together.org. Really recommend that people support Together. It's not just about farming. It's about free speech. It's about bodily autonomy. All of the key areas that we need to keep fighting for. So thank you for all you do, Alan Miller, and thank you so much to Reverend Canon Father Phil Harris. Absolutely brilliant to have you back on Outspoken today.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.